So of course this was a very close game by both players. Both players played it out really well. GoRush took a little bit of a more greedy opening here with a hatch first and nearly fell for Naura's ruse of going for a cannon rush, but a very nice defense actually put Naura quite far behind from the start of the game, and a Hydro Burst actually took out Naura's only gateway for a long time. He did try and flood gateways to try and make up, but his unit count was a lot lower than it could have been, and all these movements did actually set the tone of the game continuing. GoRush had a very good defense. Naura tried to be aggressive in any way he could, but his observers didn't come up quick enough for him to do any damage at the natural. And when he moved down here, this is when he fell victim to the supreme defense of GoRush in this game, as he couldn't do enough damage to make this trade worth it. And it did actually lead to it was a very good hold by GoRush here, and it put Naura further behind than he was. So rather than opting to move forward in the game, he decided to tap out and move on to game 3, where he hopes he'll be able to make a difference. So, well played by Naura, well played by GoRush, and GoRush now finds himself 2-0 up in this set, which is unfortunate for Naura, but GoRush showing, much like his teammate Boxer, that he wants to go in to the final with a completely clean slate. So very well played. And we're going to move straight into the next game as soon as I report this one, and then set up the next one. Okay, so I'll throw up the intro again, and then we'll get going. So once again, we have the players ready. GoRush will be going into this game with a huge mind game advantage. He is going to be confident knowing that he won the first 2 games. It was a very even fight for most of it, but GoRush's defense in both games did actually see him through as the victor into this third set here. And running on empty possibly right now is Naura. I'm not sure if he is affected as much by losing as some people are, but this is a very difficult situation to find yourself in, being 2-0 down in a set. GoRush being on match point, of course. Naura is going to be in for an incredible uphill battle if he wants to come back in this series, and GoRush could be looking to finish this game rather quickly with an aggressive play. We'll soon have to find out, and that's exactly what we're going to do now. Let's get going. This game is of course on Gladiator, so we will see Gladiator once again. Gladiator is actually one of my favorite maps, so this is cool. And you do see okay, there we go. So of course, in the top of your screen, once I get rid of the set image, so you can actually see it, we do in fact have KT Rolster's Naura, who does find himself 2-0 down. So he's gonna have to be clever here if he wants to find or claw his way back against GoRush. And down here in the bottom left spawn, we do have GoRush once again. He is going into this game with a huge belt of confidence. This is his match point. If he can win this, he will move on to face SK Telecom T1's Boxer, his teammate and friend in the final. And he's going to be, or I imagine Boxer will be cheering him on. But in the winner's interview from the previous game, we did actually see the Boxer wished luck to both of these players, so I think Boxer's just looking for a good final, and this game could decide if that final is going to be a TVZ, or if Naura will actually manage to pull this back and make it a TVP. Naura's going to be scouting, sadly for him, in the wrong direction again, so that's somewhat unfortunate for him. He's not had the best of luck scouting positions, and once again, GoRush, I mean, if it wasn't for the fact I knew none of these players were hacking, you could almost imagine that GoRush is map hacking right now due to the fact he sent his Overlord to completely the right position every single game. He's going to opt to go for hatch first again, so he's taking somewhat of a risk. I mean, if GoRush was to do proxy 2 gate, he'd find himself in a little bit of trouble. Sadly for Naura, it looks like he hasn't had as much practice on this map as some other players. Actually misclicks and misses the spawn, so he actually has to waste time and go back. He's not going to opt to double scout, although this probe could be going on to double scout, but more likely just adding on a cannon there. So sadly for him, he's going to find GoRush actually last, which is somewhat problematic, but it means it's very, very hard to do a cannon rush from here, so it looks like he's just going to add on that nexus behind the one cannon and do what he can from there, take it economical, not do anything too crazy. And GoRush as well is going to add on his spawning pool. Nothing insane going on right now, so this looks like it's going to turn into another relatively standard PvZ with a back and forth from both sides. There are a lot of variations where they can go from here. Of course, GoRush could do Hydra Bust again. Hydra's, even early lurkers, are very good on this map due to the architecture with these spikes, almost like Heartbreak Ridge. I think this came out after Heartbreak Ridge, and that may be where I got this design from. But a circle in this map is all like high ground bridges, and there are some else at the natural as well. So tanks and lurkers especially are very strong on this map. And it looks like the probe of Naura finally does actually scout GoRush's base. It does see nothing out of the ordinary, and GoRush is just going to take this opportunity, seeing the nexus to go up, to put his second natural down in a very, very, very good position, far enough away from Naura to mean it's in no immediate danger. And Naura is going to find himself once again in a position where he needs to work out how to do some damage. Not opting to go for a very early Hydralist Den this time. GoRush is actually going to go up to Lair before Hydralist Den, so I mean we could see lurkers as I predicted, but we could also see just a very early Spire. Muteless play is of course very good in PvZ as well, especially early on without Storm. And against Naura, who may not be prepared if it comes, he could do a lot of damage, because so far GoRush hasn't actually shown off his muteless play in TVP, so if he opts to do so, it could catch Naura completely by surprise and give GoRush an actually early victory, but we'll have to wait and see of course until this lair finishes. And GoRush is just going to move across the map with some lings just to do a little bit of scouting. He's not going to be able to break him past this wall unless speed finishes and he manages to get through the Zealot, as the Zealot isn't tight right now, but this cannon should do enough to defend against it. And it looks like he's just going to sit here and try and catch any probes that try and sneak out and get a third base. Something that now, yeah, GoRush actually done quite well. The Hydralist Den does actually finish around the same time as the lair, and it looks like he will get Overlord speed again, and this time opting to go for Hydralist speed before range. So it looks like he's not actually interested in putting any pressure on the wall to start with. He's going to move up with some lings again, just put a slight amount of pressure on while droning up at home, although we do see Hydralisks coming out of two of his hatcheries once again, so we could see somewhat of a variation of the build he did the last game, where he got Hydralist range before speed last game and used it to pressure the wall. But of course we could see speed finish and then him go straight for lurkers, which of course would be a strong choice. But there are so many options that GoRush could go for. The Zealots now are actually going to move out and try and pressure these Zerglings back to the base, but there's not too many of them to actually be able to leave the base of Naura right now, so he's going to pull back to his wall. He has pushed the Zerglings away momentarily, and a good thing about that is he did scout how many Zerglings there were, which can make a difference to what units are coming at his base. There are Hydralisks coming up to his base now as well, and there's only actually 5 Zealots and a cannon, so this could do some damage again. Looks like we are seeing Lurkers being researched, so against my earlier judgment of Spire, we are actually seeing Lurkers, which are a very strong choice. The one cannon goes down, and that's incredibly good for GoRush. GoRush is going to pull back with his Hydralisk against these Zealots. One Hydralisk runs in and actually gets killed for free due to the rally point, which is kind of a shame for GoRush, but very good for Naura, now, who is now adding on some more gateways. Getting up his Zealot speed as well, and is now in a position where he can push the Hydralisk force back. But with a late observatory, which he will have, he's going to have a hard time dealing with an early Lurker push that could be coming his way. He's going to add on his Templar Archives, which he will use for Storm. But as I said, without observers, he's going to be up a creek. He does not want to be up. And I of course don't want to swear on a live cast because that isn't very professional, but he's gonna find himself on an overturning boat. Let's just say that. And yeah, the Hydras are gonna chase around these Corsairs, so this does actually tip Naura off into how many Hydras are out on the map. And due to the fact he knows what the position of them are, he is actually going to move across the map with the Zealots, which could actually do a lot of damage. There's no Sunkens or SimC here this time. A little bit of an oversight by GoRush, who hasn't actually had to deal with too much early pressure from Naura so far, other than the cannons. Is going to add on the Evolution Chamber, but these Zealots are going to try and get past. They're going to try and surround the Hydralisk, which is going to be not actually doing as much damage as I thought. They're finding it hard to actually attack. And the drones are doing a very good job of actually blocking the Zealots off from the Hydralisks. A lot of the Hydralisks do go down, but with Lurkers popping and more Hydralisks coming back, he's going to be able to defend this. Of course, there are a lot of drones going down and a lot of Hydralisks going down to these hero man lots. But well, in fact, this is actually going to put Naura in a very good position because GoRush doesn't actually have too many drones left. He does have a few at his main, a few at his second natural. And the Corsairs are going to move over here and try and take out the 3 completely undefended Overlords. So if Naura can actually defend against this Lurker attack at the front of his base, which he's having a little bit of trouble with, he's now adding on his robotics facility, but these observers are going to be quite far away. He's going to have to rely entirely on Storm to try and defend against this. He's going to have a few issues. They are slowly taking down the wall, but for now it looks like he should be okay. There are units flooding out of all of GoRush's base right now. He's actually chose to leave a Lurker back to defend, despite knowing there's no way anything could actually get out of his base, so he's going to use these Lurkers to try and pressure. Once again opting to spread his Overlords around, even though Corsairs are out on the map, just to give himself a little bit of extra vision. And the Lurkers are going to slowly move up, almost like oh okay, they're going to move back. But that's somewhat like a siege tank push almost, with the way he's moving the Lurkers. And it looks like he's going to load up. He's actually going to go for an Overlord drop, which is going to be completely undefended. There's nothing in the main to defend. He does have a lot of Zealots, but he wouldn't have seen these actually load up, so he's going to have a lot of trouble dealing with this. There's no detection in his main base, so if this Lurker can burrow, there's nothing he can do about it, and he will start losing his gateways. There's not too many units being dropped in right now, but there's not too much to defend either, so these Zerglings and Hydralisks could actually start taking out some key structures. He does have an Archon, and I do believe he has one Storm. Storm is not actually finished though, so if GoRush could actually... Oh, it looks like he managed to Lurker drop on top of the minerals. He does kill... How many? He kills 12 probes at least, and leaves Naura stuck on one base with a Lurker in his base he can't actually deal with. He does get his Observer out just in time. But he does find himself incredibly far behind in this game. A very, very nice play with that Overlord drop that he hasn't shown so far in this series. Shows that GoRush is very adaptable. He's not a one-style Zerg like we do see some, like Shine, for example, who pretty much Hydra busts every game. But that's fine. That's real Pro League, and Shine doesn't play anymore, I don't think, so it's not too much of a problem. And of course you do have someone like Quanro, who is known for his link styles, so there we go. We do have Naura trying to move out on the map to clear out the area in front of his base. He did lose his gateway here. He does have does have his cannons as well. He clears out the 2 lurkers as natural so he can mine it as natural again, but he finds himself quite far behind. That drop, while small, did a decent chunk of damage, and there's still not too much defense, so a follow-up drop could actually be very powerful here. The one thing Nara does have going for him right now is he does have a high gateway count, and GoRush is quite low on hatcheries. He does have, I believe, 5 hatcheries at this point, and let's count them. Yes, he does. So it's 5 hatcheries. GoRush is actually quite low on drones as well, so he's opting to be a lot more aggressive than he was in the previous games. In this previous games by this stage, he did in fact actually have his 4th base up, and it looks like we're going to see an engagement on the map. It looks like GoRush's Hydras are actually caught out a little bit in the middle on their own, and the Speed Zealots and Dragoons are actually going to follow them. They're probably not going to be able to do too much damage at the base again. GoRush opting to defend really heavily until he gets a big enough army to do enough damage. And a Ling run by of Lings without speed. I don't believe speed is finished yet, as they look like they're moving relatively slowly. Could actually do a lot of damage. There's not too much to defend this. It looks like he's just going to sit outside the main base. Of course, there is an observer that does spot this. It's kind of surprising that he's opted to group his observers together, but I guess against Scourge that's a very good option. But here we go. It's a bit late, a lot later than I anticipated, but GoRush showing once again he's going to do something that he's not done so far in this set by going for that muteless play, and against a Protoss who isn't really very well defended in any of his bases. He's opting to forego the use of Hydralisk. He does have a lot of lurkers on the ground to defend any form of attacks. He's going to use these Mulists to try and go in and do a little bit of extra damage in the main. They're going to move up and try and do some probe damage here. There's nothing to spot this. There's no Overlord or Observers in the path. When they get into the mineral line, there's nothing to defend. So Nara's going to try and pull the probes away, but even in his natural, there's only 3 cannons and a Dragoon. The Mulists are actually choosing to completely ignore the Dragoon and go for the High Templar that just popped out, and he's going to camp the gateways here. Meanwhile, Nara's actually going to move down and do as much damage as he can. So Nara is actually trying to push him, but there's a lot of lurkers here. There is 2 observers, so he's going to be able to do a decent amount of damage. Or Storm does go down on 2 lurkers, which is very good for him. And Nara looks like he's going to do a little bit of extra damage here, but he has lost the majority of his probes in his main base. And looks like the Mulists have actually come back to defend. GoRush actually put in a position where he doesn't really want to be. The Corsairs are now chasing the Mulists. There's nothing to really take out the Corsairs anymore. The Mulists are actually going to turn around and fight. Not losing too many with a good spread is GoRush. And during all this, Nara has actually managed to secure his 3rd base, which puts Nara in a relatively strong position. He did lose quite a lot of his Zealot force, but Zealots aren't too hard to replace, especially with the large gate wall, the relatively good sized gateway count from Nara here. And solar casting is taking its toll after this game. I'm gonna in between the next games, if there is any, I'm definitely going to have to go and get a drink, as solar casting does take its toll on your voice. But yeah, GoRush is moving around with Lings. He's going to try and do what he can here, but with the good Dragoon placement, with the 2 High Templars which are slowly gaining energy, he's not actually going to be able to push in. And this leaves GoRush still on 3 bases himself, not opting to go for that 3rd base, or 4th base even. Is actually going to start flooding units again, and he's most likely going to try and do a big push on this base. He does have his Mulists still flying around. They're flying up towards the main again. There's not too much defending against them. Nara is sending out his reinforcements, which could intercept these Mulists, but it looks like he's actually going to, with a good micro, he will lose these High Templars. One goes down, the other one is low on energy, but this Archon is going to make it very difficult for those Mulists to move in and do any damage, and the Mulists are forced away by a single Archon. Archon's of course very powerful in StarCraft 1 against Mulisks, due to the manner of the stacking and the AoE that the Archons output. And Nara actually looks like he could be getting his 4th base the same time as GoRush, but GoRush, being cheeky once again, is adding on his 4th and 5th base at the same time, and he could even take this as 6th, as there's nothing Nara can really do to counteract it. The Mulists are still moving around. They're going to move once again into the main, which is still relatively undefended against Mulus. This is somewhat surprising. There is a High Templar here, but it doesn't have enough for Storm, and there goes the Mulus. They're going to fly in and try and do what damage they can, actually opting to move away and then juke back in. He's going to try and take out as many probes as he can. Naura not reacting to this very quickly. He's going to lose a lot more probes than he could have done if he transferred them, but it looks like he's actually transferring some extra probes to his 3rd and 4th, so the Storm goes down, but nearly hits the Mulus, but it's not good enough. The Corsairs again, or the one lone Corsair is going to try and chase on these Mulus, but if they turn around they will kill it fairly easily. And Naura's attention looks like it's being divided quite well here by the unit movement of GoRush, where he's moving his units well. He's not moving them as well as he did the previous games, and it looks like he's focusing a lot with his units on defending and macroing up, while Naura is trying to find his place on the map. His Corsairs are being pulled back and a Storm does go down, but the Mulus dodge it in a very, very nice manner. So Naura doing a good Storm there, but unluckily for him, where he pulled his Corsairs back, GoRush was actually paying good attention to his Mulus, so he does pull away before he takes too much damage. And Naura, who finds himself ever so slightly up in supply, is going to once again move his units out into the middle of the map, which is somewhat dangerous, but he at least does have his bases defending. This base isn't really mining, it's just started. It looks like I just clicked out a window. There was in fact a lurker there that did go down. It doesn't look like he killed too many probes, and now Naura's going to move in to try and help defend. It looks like he may have scouted this base with his Corsairs, as his units do get close there. The Corsairs move in and try and take out the Mulus. They do kill a couple. So GoRush is finding himself in a somewhat awkward position here, as bases were late, and the only trouble is if Naura gives GoRush the opportunity to mine off these bases, he's going to find himself incredibly far behind. But with 4 bases now starting to mine, Naura finds himself in the strongest position he's probably been in this entire series, and looks like he will, if this attack goes well, claw his way back into the series and take this to a 4th game, which of course would be good for the tournament, as 3-0s all day every day are not great. But the High Templar moves in. He does actually Storm. He puts the Storm down. Those Hydras aren't moving. About 5 Hydras goes down to the Storm, and there's a lot of lurkers here, fully clumped up. Now he's going to try and move in. The Mulus do move in the back. There's nothing other than a single Archon to defend against this. This is enough, but GoRush is going to do some more damage here, and Naura finds himself without an Observer down here as well. So there we go. The Observer is in, but that does slow down his push enough for GoRush to actually get some more defense here. Naura's going to move in with some extra reinforcements, but sadly for him, he didn't actually scout this base yet, which is somewhat of a blunder. And it looks like GoRush is just going to slowly keep macroing. Naura doing the same. He's trying to put pressure on this base, but he just does not have enough Storms to try and deal with this unit. He's gonna push in here, and this could be the deciding factor in this game. There are a lot of Lings and Hydras to block the Lurkers away from being damaged. There's a lot of Lurkers behind. A very, very nice Lurker line here, and the Dragoons and Zealots move up. Of course the Dragoons do outrange Lurkers, but it doesn't look like he's very confident in his chances in pushing in here. Actually pulls back, knowing that there is a Spore Colony there to kill his Observer, and if that Observer goes down, but once again he pulled back because his attention was divided. There's been a huge drop in the main. I really need to get a little bit better at spotting this, but it looks like once again GoRush with a drop is going to kill as many of the gateways as he can. He's unpowered a few of them, and there's just isn't any gateway banks anywhere else. He only has 2 gateways outside of his main, so he could find himself without any production again, which will leave GoRush in an incredibly powerful position. It does look like he's broken through most of the lurkers. There is a lurker here actually hidden up against the gas, which makes it possible to target, so very good positioning here, and everything of Naura does go down, and he has nothing to rebuild it. And GoRush does take this series 3-0, following his teammate Boxer into the finals with a clean sweep. And Naura does unfortunately fall out of the tournament. So very well played to both players. Naura just it didn't go perfectly for Naura, but he did his absolute best. But sadly, this time it didn't work out for him. He has been a very strong contender in this tournament, but his PvC wasn't strong enough to take out GoRush, and that's going to mean that he'll have to come back next time if he wants to avenge himself. And you'll see a winner's interview with GoRush posted later on tonight. I do hope. I should be okay to get that sorted. And you'll see Bakaso of GameNet Star League again in a couple of weeks with the final. The two players are now organising their games, so thank you for tuning in once again to the Round of Forecast. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you do have any comments, as always, please post in the thread. I'm open to hear anything you need to ask or whatever. So thank you very much. Have a good evening. Have a nice end to your weekend, and have a good week. I'll be back next weekend with Pro League.